Hi, and welcome once again to Friday Focus, where we do not focus on what is seen, but on what is unseen. Today, Friday Focus is taking a look at Psalm 100. I call it Short is Good. When I entered my teenage years, I began to pray a very specific prayer every night for several years. And it was fashioned after something I'd heard and wanted for myself. Do you ever pray prayers like that? You hear something and think, I want that. And then off you go, trying to claim it by faith. Let me ask you a question. Does it ever work? Mine didn't. Am I disappointed? Well, not really. I learned a little bit about genetics, and that put a stop to my prayer. What was it I wanted so badly? Well, I was very short and scrawny as a kid, and somebody had told me that Jesus was exactly 6 feet tall. So I religiously prayed that I'd grow to be 6 feet tall on the button. That never happened. I reached 5'6". That was it. Now that I'm decades older, I've shrunk a little bit. But am I disappointed? Maybe just a teensy bit. One thing I learned was that being like Jesus was a lot different than feet and inches. I'm still learning. Those who knew I wanted to be tall would quote, "Well, Vic, good things come in small packages." I suppose that's true about Psalm 100. It's one of the greats, but it's only 5 short verses. It says more about how to live than many long chapters in the Bible. It may be brief, but it's not shallow by any means. Like those small packages people keep talking about, Psalm 100 carries surprising weight. It's called a Psalm of Thanksgiving, the only psalm with that specific title. What it gives us is not just theology, but a posture, teaching us how to stand before God, how to walk through life, and how to orient our hearts on ordinary days. In a nutshell, then, here's Psalm 100. I call the first thing I see imperfect joy. And I find in verse 1 that it says, "Shout with joy to the Lord, all the earth." Notice that it doesn't say, "Make a perfect shout of joy." That's good news for people like me. My joyful noise isn't always perfect. The instruction is simple. Be joyful, not polished, not impressive, just joyful. Joy a decision before it's a feeling. We tend to wait for circumstances to improve before we let joy out. Psalm 100 reverses that order, calling us to bring joy into a situation because of who God is, not because of how the day is going. Start your day with deliberate gratitude before you check your phone. Whisper thank you before you scroll. Greet the Lord upon arising. It changes the look of your entire day. The second thing I see is service with a smile. I find that in verse 2. Worship the Lord with gladness. Come before him singing with joy. Some translations say, serve the Lord with gladness. By the way, did you know that your serving can be worship? You can serve and be glad about it, and it's counted as worship. We don't usually put serve and gladness in the same sentence. Service can feel draining, unnoticed, repetitive. Yet this psalm connects the two. God is not limited, and neither is serving God limited to just church activity. It includes changing diapers, answering emails, caring for aging parents, and doing honest work when no one applauds. The attitude transforms the action. The next time you do something mundane, consciously say, Lord, this is for you. Folding laundry can become worship. Writing reports becomes worship. Driving carpool becomes worship. In short, work can be worship. And in Hebrew, the word that is for worship is also the word for work. Okay, number 3. I call it a good thing to know. Verse 3. Know that the Lord is God. Did you know that's a good thing to know? It is He who made us, and we are His. We are His people, the sheep of His pasture. This verse blows evolution out of the water, quietly correcting one of our biggest modern problems, which is self-creation. We live in a time when people feel enormous pressure to define themselves, build themselves, promote themselves, defend themselves. But Psalm 100 gently says, it's He who made us, and we are His. There's ownership in those words, and that's not limiting, it's actually very liberating. Since God made us, our worth is settled. Since we're His, we're not adrift. If we're sheep in His pasture, then we're not navigating life alone. As I move on a little deeper into this particular psalm, I see something else. I call it hi. Come on in. Verse 4 says, enter His gates with thanksgiving and His courts with praise. Give thanks to Him and praise His name. Notice the progression. Enter, and with thanksgiving, you come with praise. Gratitude is the doorway. We often try to enter God's presence with a list of requests. Psalm 100 says we enter with thanks. Why? Thanksgiving recalibrates our perspective. It reminds us of what is already working, already given, already held in grace. Being thankful doesn't mean pretending everything is perfect. It means recognizing that God is still good in the middle of imperfection. So then we move on to verse 5. I call it goodness, love, faithfulness. This is what it says. For the Lord is good, and His love endures forever. His faithfulness continues through all generations. This is the foundation for everything the psalm commands. We can be joyful because the Lord is good, meaning His intentions toward us are kind. We can serve gladly because His love is everlasting, meaning we're not treated as our sins deserve. And we can trust Him because His faithfulness endures, meaning He does not change His mind about what is right or who He is. Those final words that say through all generations mean that this psalm is not just for ancient Israel. It's for teenagers praying ambitious prayers, for adults who have learned a little bit about genetics, and for those who feel small, unnoticed, or behind in life. Circumstances change. Height, whether physical or maybe even ambition, doesn't always turn out the way we expected or prayed for. In a world obsessed with big platforms, big followings, big accomplishments, one short psalm reminds us that small can be powerful. 5 verses teaching us how to live. Be joyful. Serve gladly. Remember who made you. Enter with gratitude. And trust His unchanging character. Psalm 100 quietly suggests something better than inches and feet. Instead, it invites depth of joy, gratitude, and trust. And in case you're wondering, by the way, that matters far more than inches ever did. This is Dr. Vic Holly, friend, in His grace. If you have any comments or questions, you can address them to me at vixfridayfocus@gmail.com. That's vixfridayfocus@gmail.com. God bless you. Have a tremendous week as you serve/work/worship Him.